Well, again, thank you very much for having me today. I am going to be doing sort of a quick overview, hitting some highlights today. So I appreciate you listening in. Um, I know your time is valuable, so I want to give a little bit of a quick impact and maybe a rearrangement of mindset, and hopefully that will give you all some uh, good uh, resources and tools to move forward in these times with all of the responses that you gave. Um, let's see here. My goal is really to give you quick resources, something tangible, something to get your mind thinking. But I want to ask for your permission afterwards in the Q&A session to really be honest and share with one another concerns and ideas. It seems like we've already done that today, so much appreciated. So let me address the challenge. Stress in the workplace. Looks like we've got a pretty good even split, 20% in all domains that you responded to in the poll there. But how hard has it really been in the past 3 months, both personal and business? I think if we had a personal poll next to the business poll, those would correlate close, but a little bit differently because it's what we don't say at work that we do say at home that really might let us know where the stresses lie. So stress, I would like to say, is truly a constraint. It's a thing that holds us back. And as a matter of fact, there's quite a bit of data on it. The TTI Institute has done some research, and if you take a look here, undiagnosed stress causes about 60% of all illnesses and disease and can cost our businesses across the board about $300 billion in lost productivity and medical costs every year. And I'm sure we could get that validation from our medical professionals. But it's a funny thing. Stress in small amounts can be motivating. So if I see a dog chasing me, that's a good thing. A little bit of stress means run. So my reaction is to get out of Dodge. But if 20 dogs are chasing me, I'm probably going to be so stressed that I'm crippled, I can't move, right? So stress has its usefulness, as does pain, but it's how much. The American Psychological Association back in 2013 did some research as well on folks who have stress and its impact on work. People staying up at night, not sleeping well. They feel an increase in 2013. That's almost 3 or 4 years after the economic downturn. So it's a real thing, and it can impact the business. But the joy is that there is an opportunity, and I would say, even though COVID is a real thing, um, is it just highlighting underlying stressors? Things such as uh, management or workplace recognition, rewards, workplace empowerment, your leadership styles, who do you work for, who do you manage, and cooperation and trust in the workplace. Those things have been sort of jockeyed around, and COVID is the button that pushed it. But we have an opportunity here to highlight some things that can affect or improve um, directions in stress. So I've got a question here on the screen. Why are some people and companies more successful than others? The rhetorical question that helps us wonder what works, what's going right, what do people do. Two of the newspapers here have been in business for over 100 years. um, I'm pretty sure World War One and World War Two, and Vietnam War, and the Korean War, and the Spanish flu, they were able to do things that made them successful in times of stress. It's come around before. Um, there was a longitudinal study that was done by Andrew Carnegie from the the Big Baron, and a gentleman named Napoleon Hill, an economist, at the beginning of the um, 20th century. And they did a longitudinal study with about over 3,000 companies to find out what was it that made those companies successful, what made them uh, rise above in regardless of stress or the economic situation. So they came up with something called the Carnegie Triangle, and they skimmed off out about, I don't know, 67 different attributes of a company that three factors seem to rise to the top that affected the success of that business. And I want to ask you something real quick, though. What are attributes? I'm going to take a directional change and then come back to the triangle in just a moment, those three things. But think of your favorite athlete in a sport. Some of you golf, tennis, whatever it may be that you like. Some of the attributes that contribute to the success of major athletes, and here I would generally ask questions, but with limited time, I put some together, tend to have folks that have talent, they're tenacious, they tend to be surrounded by great team members, folks that work together. They have an impactful coach, somebody who's able to motivate them to work at their best. They're intrinsically motivated with hard work, and they have a goal to win, to finish a lap, to pass on to their teammates. So those sort of mindset and practical things that athletes do can translate over into business. What are attributes of a great manager or an assistant? Well, they have good communication. They know their job. They're smart. They can be adaptable and flexible. They're well trained. They're helpful, and they're effective at what they do. As I move on here, I'm going to take us back to the Carnegie Triangle. And the first the first attribute that contributes to stress are skills, the things that actually help you in your business. The more skilled you are, the less stressed you tend to be because you know what you're doing. If you ask some of our chamber members that have done their job for many years, I heard even one of us had 30 years, Kathy. That's impressive. Pretty sure she's confident and learned skills and honed and mastered skills to the point of what Malcolm Gladwell would call the tipping point. Skills can include leadership, technical skills, analytical skills, and communication skills. Another, on the base of the triangle here, another of the top three attributes of a successful company is knowledge. And they categorize those into job knowledge and industry knowledge. And without those, I would say you'd be in big trouble if you don't know what you're doing in your business, because those who do will let you know it or outperform you. So I'm curious at this point, what percentage of skills and knowledge make up contribute to the success of a business? I can't see the rest of you here unless I do sort of a gallery view, but most of the answers I get when I do this presentation are somewhere in the range of like 50-50 or 30-20. And the result of the study actually found out of 100% that only 15% out of the 3,000 plus companies, the success of the company only had about 15% relying on skills and knowledge, and it's not even broken up evenly. It's about 7% skills and 8% industry knowledge. So what is it that was a huge contribution, the biggest contribution to success in a business and personal attitude? The biggest piece, 85% to be exact. And so what makes up the attitude attribute? Having a strong work ethic, just like the athletes. Integrity, being a team player, having flexibility and courage, adapting to change, and some humor, that helps. Comedians don't always are the first ones to go to, but they sure are the ones that you go to when they bring levity to the stress level. So these three components of success within your business are major. I mean, they're huge. because if you can focus on these three areas, our staffing agency owners would tell you that if they could give people the right skills, they give them the knowledge and the resources to do the job, um, and the time to get it done. The hardest part is then what do you do with their attitude? So if somebody can bring it, sometimes you know the negative folks and you know the positive folks. You know who to go to when you need help in both areas, and especially when you need a positive thing to get done, you're probably not going to the negative person. An attribute can change the culture of an office, of a home, and a team, or an entire organization. And so the importance of the attitude is massive. Um, I'm curious what's most valuable to you thinking about the things that I've brought to the table today. I'm going to open it up for Q&A. Pretty short and sweet concept today. I gave you a framework in which to think and some key components there. But I'm curious, coming back, if we can open it up to the Q&A session, Matt and Crystal. Feel free to unmute, and I'm going to move out of the presentation just for a second, just so I can see the box here.
Anybody have any questions?
All right.
No, I don't, but I can tell you that one of the things, Ed, that I've always been a component favored of is to allow your employees or yourself to be proactive and not reactive. And I always say negativity breeds negativity.
Absolutely. And I'm curious how much of that is directed by those in charge, the leaders.
Probably a pretty big percentage, I would say.
Yeah.
Comes from the top down.
We've all worked for folks that have been challenging, right? And so within Focal Point, I have about 36 to 37 different metrics that and resources in the way of employee assessment. And I even conduct something called the stress quotient and have a stress workshop. It's about an hour to 90-minute workshop where you take an actual assessment and look at the different drivers of stress within yourself and your business to try to hone in on what exactly is it. Yes, we know that stress exists because our poll, a self-poll, self-assessment said that we have 20% areas in cash flow, staffing, this COVID thing that's like, it's just like the black hole, right? And there's ways to kind of start narrowing down, pushing in the wall so that when you can identify the source of the stress, we can put in solutions to help overcome them to make either a team or that person more successful in what they're doing, as well as something called a DISC analysis. I have some pretty strong tools with the TTI Institute that we partner with, as well as some academic training in organizational behavior. And you can see on an assessment how people have a natural disposition, what you're doing when you're on the couch, hanging out with kids, relaxed, you know, and then what suit or sort of uniform you put on when you go to work. And that's figuratively. Who are you when you show up in that workplace? It's probably not the most natural self. You adjust your behavior. You're a little more professional, and you're not quite as apt to default to who you are naturally. But the more you can do that in the workplace, the better your experience generally is. You're too far, if you're a completely different person, when you show up, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in the workplace, we need to get some assessment going on to find out what's going on that we can identify that helps in communication, your skill sets, are you in the right job, to find out some balance. And I can do that with individuals, teams. So there's quite a bit of resources out there to help you take the pressure off and let steam out on the issues with stress, how to manage them. Looks like we have a question here. When you're dealing with an employee with a bad attitude, What are some of the great ways to curb that into a more positive attitude? So one of a great HR technique that you can use is the issue problem solution framework. So what is the issue when that person has a bad attitude? Are they skilled? Are they resourced? Are they trained? Do they have enough time? And so a great HR technique would be to identify what the issue is and then say why that's a problem. You are getting your work done, but you're complaining the whole time. And by complaining, the problem is that people are becoming unhappy. You know, they're avoiding you. You notice that. What are some of the things you can do uh, to help address that? What's going on? Do you not like them? Are they harassing you? Is it just too stressful? You have too much on your plate? So you give the tool into the place of the employee to sort of give you feedback as to what they see from their lens, because you're seeing it from the mirror behind them. Nobody can look and see the back of their head, right? You have to put a mirror up behind you to sort of comb your hair or see, hairstylists do the same thing. So in a proverbial way, this issue problem solution framework helps you address an issue like that. So then you can narrow down. If you've given them the time to get the job done, you give them the resources to get the job done, give them the training, either they have a challenge with aptitude, they need more practice, they need a mentor, or we can isolate attitude into that corner. We can narrow it in because we've now pushed those other ones to the side and we've cornered it. Like, so what's going on? Is this a personality thing? Well, this is our company culture. This is our expectations, and setting them clearly. And we need you to get on board, right? So this is just one example of how I would address attitude and do it diplomatically and with the best concern of the employee in mind. All right, any other questions or concerns there? I do want to put the presentation back up for just a second here. Let's see if I share. I do have a workshop that I do with employers. You're not alone. I want to let you know you're not alone. There are resources out there. It's an entrepreneurial growth program. It tends to be for middle managers or business owners and such, where we go over 8 different areas of your business in a pretty robust way. 90-minute sessions. It's a little bit of a drink from a fire hose. It's training that helps get folks on board with reviewing 8 different critical areas of your business so that you can be successful. And I'll make sure that Crystal or Matt gets this out to everyone. And it's pretty simple. With COVID times, I'm doing them all virtually. And I have many different short workshops, strategic planning, reviewing your strategic plan, doing stress quotients, disc analysis, reviewing employees. Those of you who are ready to get out, we've got exit planning with bringing the resources that help you plan for your best exit. And so I'm glad to share or even do a strategic business review if you just want an assessment for me to come in and just get your head wrapped around. I'd like to send a survey out to ask a few questions so I can help you out as best I can and see if there's any partnership. The nice thing is that now I'm a resource for you all, and I'm glad to drive up to Dubois County and have no problem. Distance isn't an issue. So thank you for letting me present today. I appreciate your attention, and hope gave you a little bit of something useful and helpful. I would say the 3 takeaways you should do is write down in the area of skills, one thing that you or your employees need to improve upon in the skills area, one area, one thing in knowledge, what is something you need to learn to be to add a competitive advantage, and what area thing can you do in the area of attitude that identifies a great attribute. What do you bring that you think is your best strength? And write it down and put it in front of you so you remind yourself that you have self-worth every day in the midst of this stress. And then write that one that is an area for improvement, something that either triggers you or you feel. Put that down and aim for that as an area for solution for personal growth. I'll pass it back to you, Pat and Crystal.